In this video, we're taking a closer look at a coin that most people glance at for half a second before dropping into their pocket or tossing into a jar, the 1976 Lincoln penny with the Denver Mint mark. It's a coin so ordinary that millions of Americans have handled it without giving it a second thought. But today, we're going to slow down, zoom in, and uncover the story behind this little copper coin. We're going to explore why a penny from a year packed with American pride and celebration has become a small treasure in the world of coin collecting. And at the end of this journey, I'll reveal the eye-catching value of one high-grade example, an impressive $138. So get comfortable, because this is a story of history, craftsmanship, and a surprising bit of hidden value. But the penny? The penny didn't receive a new design. No dual dates. No special bicentennial artwork. At first glance, it might seem like the penny was overlooked, but in reality, it became part of the year's celebration simply by being minted during such a historic moment. The 1976 penny is a silent witness to a year filled with national pride. Even in its simplicity, it represents continuity, a symbol of everyday America during a time of great celebration. Flip the coin over, and the reverse displays the Lincoln Memorial, a design created by Frank Gasparo in 1959. This image would remain the standard penny design until 2008. For decades, Americans grew up seeing the Memorial penny, a design so iconic that many people can spot it instantly. Look closely, and you'll see one of its most fascinating features, the tiny, detailed representation of the statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial. Even though it's miniature, the likeness is unmistakable. It's a beautiful example of how much detail was packed into something as small as a penny. Now, while the design stayed the same, the minting story of the 1976 penny is what makes it especially interesting. The Denver Mint produced an enormous number of pennies in 1976, more than 4 billion of them. With production numbers that high, it's easy to assume that every single coin is worth only face value. After all, if billions exist, how could any one of them be worth more than a cent? The secret lies in condition. Most of these billions of pennies entered circulation quickly. They were tossed in pockets, dropped into piggy banks, run through vending machines, and passed from hand to hand thousands of times. They picked up scratches, bumps, discoloration, and wear. Copper, the metal used for pennies at the time, is especially prone to tarnishing. With exposure to air, moisture, and skin oils, copper changes color and loses its original shine. That's why so many older pennies look dark brown, spotted, or dull. The Denver Mint is known for its strong strikes and good production quality, which means the minting process in 1976 produced sharp, attractive coins. But sharp design alone isn't enough. A coin still needs to avoid damage, oxidation, and toning to remain valuable. The combination of strong Denver strikes and the rare preservation of original red luster is what gives the 1976 penny its appeal among collectors. Interestingly, even without major error varieties linked famously to this coin, there are small, subtle minting quirks that collectors enjoy finding: die chips, minor doubling, or faint off-center strikes. These imperfections add personality to the coin and sometimes elevate interest, though they're not the primary driver of value here. For the 1976 penny, perfection, pure, untouched preservation, is what collectors chase. What makes this coin even more appealing is its place in the Lincoln Cent series. The Lincoln Cent is one of America's longest-running and most beloved coin designs. Since its introduction in 1909, it has become a symbol of U.S. coinage. Collectors love building full sets of Lincoln Cents, and a high-grade 1976 penny becomes a key piece in assembling a beautiful modern set. It's old enough to feel nostalgic but new enough that people still remember handling them during their childhoods or finding them in change as adults. As coin collecting continues to grow, especially as younger generations discover the hobby through online communities, social media, and modern treasure hunting videos, coins like the 1976 penny are getting renewed attention. People are going back through old coin rolls, checking pocket change, and rediscovering jars of pennies that have been sitting untouched for years. And every so often, one of those jars contains a surprise, a copper coin that escaped time itself, All of this brings us to the moment collectors anticipate. The moment when this humble penny becomes something more than loose change. While most circulated 1970-60 pennies are worth no more than 1 cent, and even lightly circulated examples only bring a few cents, the highest quality pieces bring real money. And now, here comes the big reveal. A top-graded, exceptionally well-preserved 1970-60 Lincoln penny, one with brilliant mint state red color and virtually flawless surfaces, has sold for an impressive $138. Yes, $138 for a penny that originally had a face value of 1 cent. That's the power of rarity in condition. Out of more than 4 billion pennies minted, only a tiny handful look good enough to fetch this value on the collector's market. This is what makes coin collecting so fascinating. A coin that billions of people have handled, a coin that seems completely ordinary, can turn out to be a miniature treasure if it has been preserved with extraordinary care. The 1970-60 penny is a perfect example of how history, condition, and nostalgia all come together to create unexpected value. In the world of coin collecting, some treasures don't shine with gold or shimmer with silver. Instead, they hide in the everyday places we pass through without a second thought. They might be sitting quietly inside your kitchen junk drawer, rattling at the bottom of your pocket, or even tucked away in an old jar on the dresser. And sometimes, these little overlooked treasures can surprise you. Today, we're diving into one of those small yet remarkable pieces of American history, the 2000 Lincoln penny. Yes, a simple 1-cent coin minted at the turn of the millennium, a coin that for most people blends into the background of everyday life. But as you're about to discover, this tiny copper-coated piece of metal carries a story richer than you might imagine, filled with history, symbolism, minting quirks, collector fascination, and an unexpected value that continues to catch people off guard. As we turn our attention to the year 2000, it's impossible not to feel the cultural weight of that moment. The world had just crossed into a new millennium. That's where our 2000 Lincoln penny enters the story. While it may look ordinary at first glance, this little coin represents the bridge between 2 centuries of American coinage and the continuation of one of the most iconic coin designs in U.S. history. But to really appreciate the 2000 penny, we need to step back nearly a century. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Before this, no real person had ever appeared on a circulating U.S. coin. Earlier designs relied heavily on symbolic figures, Lady Liberty, for example, but placing Lincoln on the penny marked a major shift. It was a decision that stirred debate at the time, but the American public embraced it almost immediately. The portrait of Lincoln, created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, became an instant classic. Brenner's design captured Lincoln's gentleness, resolve, and deeply human presence. Over the decades, the penny became a quiet monument carried daily by tens of millions of Americans. Fast forward to the year 2000, and the Lincoln cent had already survived 2 world wars, the Great Depression, several changes in metal composition, and countless cultural shifts. Yet Brenner's portrait remained. Then there are die cracks, where fractures in the press equipment leave raised lines or bumps on the coin's surface. Even more fascinating are doubled dies, where the lettering or portrait appears doubled due to a misalignment during the die creation phase. Although no major doubled die varieties from the year 2000 have achieved legendary status, smaller doubling varieties have attracted attention among specialists. Collectors love these era coins not only because they're scarce but because they represent moments where the human element of minting, despite being backed by enormous machines and high precision, flickers through. It's like catching the mint in a rare misstep, a fleeting imperfection that turns an everyday object into something unique. The year 2000 had its share of such quirks, and some of those coins now sell for far more than the average 1-cent piece. Even outside of errors, the 2000 penny carries appeal simply because of its age and timing. Many people collect coins by birth year, anniversary year, or year of significant world events. The year 2000 holds a special meaning for countless people. It's the year they were born, the year they graduated, the year they got married, or simply a year remembered for its cultural energy. Still, condition is everything in coin collecting. Most pennies from the year 2000 show the usual signs of wear: scratches, discoloration, tiny dents, simply because they circulated for decades. But a small number were saved straight from new mint rolls or coin banks and remain in pristine condition today. These well-preserved examples, especially those graded highly by professional services, can fetch significantly higher values than their well-traveled counterparts. As we move through the story of this coin, it becomes clear that the 2000 Lincoln penny isn't valuable because it's rare. It isn't. Of course, the big question most people have when they arrive at videos like this is simple. What is the coin actually worth today? After all, if you discovered a 2000 penny in your pocket right now, you might be wondering whether it's worth saving or whether it should go back into circulation without a second thought. And this is where things get interesting. While most circulated 2000 pennies are still worth just 1 cent, certain specimens, whether because of condition, unusual minting anomalies, or collectible appeal, can command much higher prices among collectors. As the market stands, a standout example of a 2000 Lincoln penny in the right condition can reach a surprising value of $129. For a coin that originally cost a single cent to mint and distribute, that's quite an impressive leap. And it's this potential for the unexpected, this possibility that something as ordinary as a penny could be worth over $100, that keeps collectors searching, sorting, and inspecting their loose change. So next time you come across a 2000 Lincoln penny, take a moment to look closely. Hold it up to the light. Check its shine, its details, its condition, and maybe even its uniqueness. Because while most of these pennies continue to shuffle quietly through everyday life, every now and then, one of them stands out in a big way. And who knows? You just might find the one that turns your 1 cent coin into a small treasure worth $129.